Hi there, this is Frank Romano, quite mobile today. Well, there was an article in the Washington Post. What it costs for a best-selling ebook, $12.99. I have one word for the Washington Post: bullshit. They're saying that the cost of producing an ebook and producing an ebook, producing an ebook and producing a p-book, a printed book, is about the same. Well, you know and I know that that's not true. That printing and binding are the tip of the iceberg. You still have to transport those printed books. You still have to warehouse those printed books. And then you have to deal with returns from the booksellers for those printed books. So it's not the same. What they're trying to do is justify the fact that they're putting a price tag of $12.99 on something that should sell for less than $5. $4.99. Thank you very much, publishers. Because we know what you're doing. You're giving us a file we can never share with anyone. You're giving us a file we can never save. We never own it. So why would I want to buy that for $12.99? And by the way, most of the books that you're producing, I really don't care about these ex-politicians telling us about their lives or how wonderful they are. How about some real content? That's the problem. So ebooks are overpriced. And I think the publishers have to take responsibility for it. In the old days, they paid the bookseller 40%. 40% margin. That's what the average independent bookstore worked on. If you were Barnes & Noble, you might get it to 50% in some cases. Now, of course, they're fighting with all of the distributors. Kindle, Nook, the iPad store, the iTunes store, which are trying to set low prices and have some kind of standardization in the way margins are handled. But the publishers want to go for these big numbers as though that's going to save them in some way, shape, or form. The thing that will save them is to sell a lot of books. And the way to sell a lot of books is to have the content that people really want. And by the way, some publishers figure that out, and a lot of publishers never figure that out. So this article was not written by a Washington Post reporter. It was written by a young man, I think he's a young man, who's an MBA student at George Washington University. I didn't make that up. He's a grad student. And by the way, I love grad students. I work with grad students all the time, and they are brilliant people to deal with. And what he did was he probably went to the publishers and asked for these numbers, and they gave them to him. Well, the publishers lied. The publishers don't want us to know what things really cost. They still want to get $12.99 for an electronic file that you can't do anything with except read it a few times and then it disappears. That's not the way the e-book world should be. That's not the way the book world should be. This kind of article is a way for the publishers to sort of justify their actions, and they should be ashamed of themselves. And that's my opinion.